Okay, I'm in my bird room, the end of a very gorgeous weekend, and hoping I can keep this video upbeat because the last several ones went downhill pretty fast. It's hard to talk about things that are painful for me and not get all sad and depressed. And I'm one of those wonderfully lucky people that if I have a serious expression on my face, I look ugly. You know, some people are just blessed with gorgeous good looks. Not me. I'm one of those people that if I smile, you know, and have a sunny disposition, I can kind of sort of be cute. But the moment I start to get sad, oh my God, watch out. Camera in danger of breaking. Okay, so we're going to try to keep it upbeat. We're going to try to keep this whole happy thing going on here. I just wanted to talk about the negativity of, or the negative effects of poisonous or toxic environments. I got to have this in spades when I was growing up because that was a toxic environment, and I didn't really know how bad it was until I was finally away from it. But like my brother, he had me conditioned where I couldn't even walk past him without flinching and pressing against the wall of the hallway as I was passing him, because it was always a random thing. Either nothing was going to happen or he was going to hit me. And I mean, this wasn't just a little tap. This guy was, my brother was very powerful young man, and his blows were very, very hard. And living in fear of whether or not he's going to hit me, never knowing whether or not he was going to hit me, that was very bad for me. And ultimately, that caused me some problems when I was younger, and I ended up having to go see a child counselor because I had a lot of anger issues in junior high. Because of my brother and because of the situation where I perceived that my mom loved him and it wasn't so much for me, you know, we weren't treated the same. Anyway, fast forwarding to present, or recent present, the situation at the bar was also very toxic for me. And very, I mean, it wasn't just the situation at the bar. Zoom! Okay, we're keeping it positive. Happy. Okay, situation at the bar wasn't the only thing. I had my mother, while I was taking care of this guy who was ill and living in my house, my mom was getting very strange. I was getting phone calls all the time from my mom's friends asking me what was wrong with my mom. Long story short, well, my mom had cancer and she had to have chemo, and the chemo made her very ill. And while this guy was still living with me who was sick, my mom started doing weird things like traveling to Wisconsin in the middle of the winter because voices told her to. And she wouldn't tell me that. I asked her why she was going back there, and she said she would tell me someday. Anyway, my mom had a serious mental collapse after a few rounds of chemo, and long story short, I found out much later, like several years later, that my mom had paranoid schizophrenia, and she had managed to hide it all her life. But after the chemo, whatever in her brain that was allowing her to hide this illness unraveled, and she unraveled. And so I was getting her friends calling me all the time. They were guilt tripping me because I wasn't letting my mom come live with me. They were telling me, they were basically implying that I was a bad daughter because I wasn't letting my mom, who was eating peanut butter sandwiches all the time, that was all she was eating, was peanut butter sandwiches. And she was letting herself go, and she wasn't paying her bills because she had imaginary people paying her bills. I was supposed to bring her into my house and become responsible for her. And I didn't want to because, one, I had a real hard time being in my mom's presence for more than an hour because being around my mom brought back all the shit from when I was a kid and made me feel like crap. And like I could never be good enough. That's how I am when I'm around my mom. It's like I feel everything going back to when I was a kid and I could never be good enough for her. But also I had this guy living in my house that I was caring for and I cared about, and I didn't think he would be so well off on his own. I was afraid for him being on his own. And I was basically putting him and his welfare ahead of my own mother. Except I couldn't tell her friends that. So that was going on. And then this guy getting better and turning around and telling me, thanks, but I don't need you anymore, and leaving. And then I'd see him at this bar and he would look right through me like I wasn't even there, like he didn't even know me. Which was really hard for me because I really cared for him, and he'd lived in my house for 3 years, and I helped him several times while he was living with me get help when he needed it. And I felt like he was finally healthy and I couldn't even say hi to him. I couldn't even smile at him. Because if I even looked at him, he was looking right through me like I didn't exist, and it just hurt me so much. So I had that going on, and then the weirdness at the bar. Which was getting worse and worse. And I was getting back pain, really serious back pain, and I was starting to feel hard inside in my stomach. And I was really worried that I had cancer. And I was terrified to go to the doctor and I didn't want to know. I just didn't want to know. Everything else was going wrong. This guy I cared for hated me, and I couldn't even smile at him. I couldn't enjoy any of the health that he was enjoying. I wasn't able to. I helped him through his illness, but I couldn't enjoy him in his health. I couldn't enjoy having him as a friend when he was healthy again. My mom was in danger of being evicted from her home because she had imaginary people paying her bills and she wasn't paying her rent. I was going to Adult Protective Services trying to get them to realize that she was in a really precarious place and she needed help. She needed a guardian, and I didn't want to be her guardian because my mom was going to places like Nordstrom's and Jean Moretz, and she was jacking up bills that she didn't have because she thought she was a multimillionaire. And she was spending money like she was a multimillionaire, but she wasn't. Her voices made her think she was. So I had that going on, and I had the department stores calling me, do you know your mom is doing this? And in addition to that, and the guy caring for me, I had these people at the bar that were treating me more and more and more with this hostility, and I didn't understand why. And I kept going anyway because the bartender was my friend, or at least I thought, and also I could still see a couple people there that I thought were my friend, and I honestly thought it was worth dealing with the hostility directed at me by the staff at this bar and regulars at this bar. Just to have these every now and then happy little moments with these people that I thought cared for me and that I liked and enjoyed being around. So I developed this medical problem, and I went to my doctor, and he said that it was magnified by, or it was being compounded by negative stress. I had too much negative stress, and in addition to this, I was also having these wonderful anxiety attacks at the bar where I had to go outside, and I would go out and pretend I was on my cell phone just to breathe because I felt so much anger toward me at this restaurant by these regulars, and I honestly wouldn't have kept going there except that was the place that I could see the few people that I thought were my friends. So I put the olive branch out to this guy that had I had helped that had lived with me, because my doctor said you need to get rid of the negative stress in your life. It's really causing you a lot of problems, and you might have to have surgery. So I tried to make things better with the guy that didn't like me anymore after he stopped needing me when he got better. I apologized to him, even though he never apologized to me. And honestly, the only thing that I did wrong for him was I couldn't stop caring for him fast enough when he got better, and so he started feeling smothered. I apologized to him. I tried to get things back on track with him. I couldn't really make things better with my mom, but eventually we did get a guardian for her, and she did get into a home, and that helped a lot. And the last negative thing in my life that was causing me this problem was the bar. So anyway, I had to have this surgery. I was already too old to have kids, but that pretty much made it impossible for me to have kids after that. Major surgery, no longer able to have kids. I got to go through the grief of the fact that I really badly wanted to have kids, and my ex-husband, who didn't want to have kids, got somebody pregnant after pretending to be impotent with me for 6 years. And while we were still married, he went out and got a girl pregnant, and now he gets to be a dad. And I don't ever have any hope of being a mom. I'm going to be childless, and I'm the one that wanted kids. So I got to deal with losing that. I got to deal with losing my ability to have children, while my wonderful ex-husband was having his little daughter, Paige, to play with. I never even got to hold a baby in my life. And the hostility at the bar. I was trying to reach out to this bartender. I had long given up on trying to understand why he was being the way he was. I had given up. I had come to the conclusion that it was just what it was. You know, he had made a mistake, bad time in his marriage, that kind of thing. But then when this thing all was getting really bad up for my health, then it's like, okay, I want to try to make it better for myself at this bar. What can I do to make it better for myself? His wife was being very hostile toward me. And I thought maybe that was why the people at the bar were being so hostile to me. I was thinking maybe he had told his wife what had happened, and she thought that I had gone after her husband, which was not the case. And I thought maybe if I reassured her that I wasn't after her husband, without telling her what had happened, because I didn't want her to know. I didn't want anybody to know what happened, because I still thought he was my friend and I wanted to protect him. But I thought if I could talk to her, I could reassure her that I was in no means interested in her husband. After my husband and the last 6 years of our marriage, and basically being in a loveless relationship to a man that I loved, and then taking care of a man for he lived with me for 3 years. I took care of him for 2, through a really hard illness, only to find out at the end of it that I was really not anything to him. It was just, I was just there because he needed me. Anyway, and I still am. I don't need to ever have anybody in my life again. And that's the happy part of my story. I don't need, it's not what my life is about. I have nobody pulling my strings anymore. And I'm loving it. But back then I was still having things pull my strings. My whole life was falling apart because the people I thought were my friends, I wasn't able to see them without having all this bad negativity at this bar. Because these friends were not people I could see away from this bar. I guess I was stupid. I should have realized that because I only saw them at this bar, they weren't really my friends. They were bar friends, which isn't the same as real friends, but I thought they were real friends, and they mattered to me, and I had come to care for them. Anyway, toward the end, I reached out to this bartender one last time, asking him if he thought if I talked to his wife, if maybe we could I could make her be reassured that I wasn't remotely interested in him. I mean, he was my friend, and that meant the world to me. My few friends, I had maybe 3 of them, and one of them was about to move to New Zealand. That was Lynn. They meant the world to me. I didn't want to lose them. Anyway, so that's basically it. It was trying to get myself, so I wasn't having this lovely back pain and these anxiety attacks. I was trying to make it better at that bar so I could go to that bar and not be treated like shit and not feel like I was going to, like the walls were closing in. And that's why I would be going to the window to sit, either one side or the other, wherever the window was. Or I'd be leaving and going outside and talking on my phone to imaginary people just to breathe. And I guess sitting by the window was a bad thing. And a threat. I'm making my lovebird Sissy very upset. So that's all. I am getting better. Getting away from that environment has been a huge help. It makes me mad that I had to lose so much because of somebody having a whim. Somebody wanted to use me to get better, and somebody else wanted to use me because he was frustrated and he was feeling neglected and he wanted to, I guess he had a heart-on. And oh my God. Biggest mistake of my life. And you know, it's the thing the part that kills me is if I had been sober, and if I hadn't been so fucking needy and desperate to keep my friend, thinking that this would be what I had to do to keep my friend and not lose yet another friend, so much of this bad stuff would never have happened. But it's amazing what one night can do, and one too many drinks can do. So anyway, I'm going to stop this now so it doesn't get all icky and sad again. So thanks for listening. Bye.